If you want to change your mindset, start building some mental fucking fortitude. This is More Than Muscle, and today what I want to do is I want to dive into how you can allow your discipline with your nutrition, with your health, with your training, all of that into your discipline, into how you actually take on your life, your relationships, your career path, because so often people will be disciplined in one area but not disciplined in another. And what I want to do is I want to dive into that because I have seen so many people that will not speak up. They're too scared. They sabotage themselves. They go and ruin other aspects of their life because they're too fucking shy, right? And they also don't want to actually speak up for what's right. They don't want to speak up for the right shit that actually is getting in their way of how they can actually have a life that is fulfilled. So you run into these tiny little dramatic concepts that are out there. You won't talk to someone because you're too scared of hurting their feelings. Yet you'll go and do a hard workout. You won't actually address something or tackle something because it's too hard for you. Yet you'll go and actually say no to drinking alcohol. Help that make sense. It doesn't make sense. And that's because you are selective. And if you're going to be a selective person where you may be disciplined, you may be consistent in one area of your life, but you're inconsistent and you're weak in another area, you haven't mastered it. And I'll be the first to tell you that there are too many people that are victims in some areas of their life and then they're victors in some others. It doesn't make sense. If you want to master it, if you truly want to get ahead, then stop falling short on the shit that is the hardest part for you. That's what you need to address. That's what you need to actually pour more of your attention into. So the reason why I share this is because I have seen so many people that don't have any issues getting to the gym. The gym is honestly the easiest part. They can do that 1 hour a day and they can actually go and master it. They work hard, they push themselves, but as soon as they leave, they won't have that conversation. They won't eat the meal. They'll skip meals. They won't actually focus on their health. They won't go to bed on time. They won't turn off the screens. Like, look at where you're weak. Look at where you are falling short. That is your problem. And then when you go and go, well, I just cannot get this weight off. I just cannot get the body I want. Well, let's have a look at your whole life, like your day to day. You are stacking more L's than you are W's. Yeah, you get the W because you get up and you get to the gym. And it's 4% of your day. Truly, it is not that hard. That is not the hardest part of your day. Anyone that goes out there and promotes you build so much strength and mentality and all this bullshit in the gym. Okay, cool. Yeah. And then what? And then you fall down as soon as you leave. Is that a strong person? Because not in my eyes. It's definitely not someone that has resilience. Just because you can lift, that doesn't mean you can tackle shit. Because it's obvious. It's very obvious the way that I see people crumble. They crumble to the fucking floor because they are weak as shit. And I say that confidently because I see it every day. Every single time there's a hard conversation, every single time an opportunity presents, but you get smaller every single time. You fall short. And I'm sharing this with you because if you want to change your mindset, start building some mental fucking fortitude. Like, actually build it. And the best way to build it is to tackle hard things. And when I say hard things, I do not mean a hard workout. When I say hard things, I mean tackle the things that are difficult for you. And that may be that you've got to build discipline in the areas of your life that you have not mastered. Don't get me wrong. It's not easy and it takes a long time, but truly it's practice. I want to tell you how I did it because I have done it. I was once that person that was fit, but honestly unfit mentally. So yeah, physically, I looked great. Physically, I could do what most people couldn't do. But as soon as it came down to handling anger and then handling hard situations and then communication and regulation, I sucked. I truly sucked. So I can sit here today mastering it and teaching you and telling you that it's possible. Because if I can do it, anyone can do it. And that's just the facts. So how did I do it? Right? How did I do it? Well, first I hit rock bottom, and that helped a lot because when you hit rock bottom, you're forced to look at yourself. You're forced to face yourself, and you do not like what you see. And I was exactly that person. I didn't like what I saw. I didn't like how I felt. I reflected on myself, and honestly, I just was not a good person. right? I would treat people poorly. I wouldn't stand up for myself. And if I did stand up for myself, it was coming from a place of defense. It wasn't even coming from a place of like actually creating some boundaries and, having some confidence in myself. I was just straight defensive. So what I did is I learned about myself, because the best thing that you can study is you. The best thing that you can learn about yourself is your flaws and your faults. Where are you going wrong? Where could you go more right? How can you be more fulfilled in life? Most of the time, the best way for you to get better is to look at the areas that you haven't mastered yet. Some of those are in communication. Some of those are you communicate too quickly, so you're very reactive. You don't know how to respond. You only know how to react. So you're going to check in on yourself, and you're going to look at it. And then you're going to go, well, I always want to run away, right? Like I was talking to a client today, just wants to turn straight back to alcohol. Yeah, cool. And if you did that, what would happen? That was the exact question I asked her. If you turned back to alcohol, would that make your situation better? Probably not. If you did do that, how would it affect other people around you? Probably not very well. So it's a selfish act, because when we're in a place where we are aggressive, we're defensive, we're negative, we're doubtful, we're uncertain, we're just coming from a place that isn't good. We instantly want to do the things that make us feel safe, because safety is always where we want to go. Are you the person that runs away as soon as shit gets hard? Are you the person that fights really with your fists up because things are getting more difficult? Or are you the person that's going, you know what? I'm going to sit with this, I'm going to process it, and I'm going to have a response to it. And I had to look at myself. And then when I did, I learned where some of my flaws were coming from. I learned how to navigate and master myself during this process. Now, I also, everything that I had, like all of my defenses, they came from somewhere. So when you know where they come from, for me, it was a lot of like my past, right? Everything comes from an experience. Every single thing that you do or don't do comes from an experience, because there is a story. And in the story, there's gaps. We fill the gaps. We fill the gaps with maybe false evidence, and that is fear. Or we fill it with maybe what we think, which is like maybe our perception of something. That's what we fill it with. And that may be true or it may be untrue. We don't know until the information comes in and we actually understand what's going on. But for me, I had to learn that all of my past experiences where there was a lack of self-worth, there was a lack of self-value, there was a lack of self-understanding and regulation, that's why I would do what I did. And then when I learned that, because I worked with great people, I worked with a psychologist. He was actually a psychoanalyst. So try working with one of those people that are constantly making you analyze yourself. I worked with him for 18 months. While I was working with him, I learned Stoicism. And as I was learning Stoicism, I looked at how they responded to things, because they had it hard. You think you have it hard right now? Try living back then when people were basically out to kill you all the time. Now, when I learned how they responded to things, I was so amazed by it, because I was like, how do they stay so calm? What is it that they are doing but I'm not? And what I found is what they were doing is just going, what's in my control? Well, my output is in my control. My responses are in my control. How I perceive things, the questions that I ask, the information that I'm taking in, how I'm processing it, that is all within my control. So then when I have a conversation with someone, when I make a decision and I back myself, I am taking ownership of that. That's what they do. That's why I loved the idea of Stoicism, because it showed me how people did it right and how what they did back then led to where we are today. How about that? And so if you want to change, you have to do some self-reflection, and then you got to learn how you can navigate yourself around this. It is possible. And I share that with you because I've done it. Now, it took me a long time, and I don't want to go and tell you, go and take a 18-month to 2-year journey just to learn about yourself, because you could do it right now, and you could do it real quick. I took the long way, and I took the long way because I was stubborn. Now, I learned that about myself as well. I learned that I'm stubborn. And I learned that there's sometimes a time where I can't be stubborn. I just got to let go, and I got to let it be. And maybe I'm not always right. And maybe I am right. And if I am right, I'll stand my ground. If I feel like this is my truth, this is what I believe is my honest truth, I will stand the fuck up for that. And I will not back down. That's where my stubbornness can be a superpower. But if I am wrong, I will back down and I won't be stubborn, and I'll actually admit it. And there's a superpower in that too, because I will admit when I'm wrong, but I also will stand up for when I'm right, because you got to know your truth. That's the thing, right? If you don't know your truth, if you don't know what is authentic to you, if you don't know what is fucking genuine to you, then you're probably going to lie. You're probably going to be aggressive. You're going to go and defend everything. And that's how you can learn about yourself. That's how you master yourself, because you know, okay, I'm doing that thing again. I'm being defensive again. And now this comes up the most in your private life. And then if it comes up in your professional life, you're going to look at everyone else as the problem. It's your boss's problem. It's your colleague's problem. It's the system's problem. It's everyone else's problem but yours. That is a victim mentality. Let that go as fast as you possibly can, because the more that you carry that, the worse you're going to be, and you're just going to go down. You're not going to go up. You're definitely not going to level up. I can assure you of that. But if you focus on like, you know what? This system isn't working because I cannot adapt. This person I'm not vibing with because they are kind of challenging me in a way that I don't like. You know, how can I work around it? Again, it's coming back to self-reflection, self-regulation, and self-control. How many times have you been tested and you have lack of control? Probably too many. Let's be real. It's probably happened way too many times. So I want you to learn how to do this. I loved the fact that I constantly got asked questions, and these questions got me thinking. This is exactly what I do now when I coach people. I just ask them questions after questions after questions, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't answer that question. I'm like, great. I'm going to plant that question in your mind, and you're going to probably go away. You're going to think about it, and then you'll either have an answer today. You might have an answer in a month, because you'll remember that a question got you thinking. The whole idea is to get something into your mind. Maybe let it sit there, let it fester, but then it will grow into something. That's the whole idea of planting seeds. And there's so much working for you, but you don't even know that. But the way that we like to look at this, and Carl Jung talks about this a lot, there's synchronicities. There's something unconsciously happening in you that you don't even know about yet. Let that sit there for a second. There's something happening in you that you don't know about yet. This is how the world likes to present things to you, like, whoa, where did that come from? It was always building. If an opportunity presented itself, if you're one day randomly listening to me, I was always going to come into your world, okay, into your universe. If you're listening to this today, someone led you to me. Something led you to me, and I will probably lead you to somewhere else. That's just how this works. That's how it all works. Everyone thinks that it's something magical. It's like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe what an ironic thing. It's not ironic. Everything is made to happen the way it's meant to happen. And I can assure you that the more that you take ownership and control of yourself, the more this is not going to like startle you. You're not going to be surprised by stuff. Like, I'm not surprised by things. When things happen, I'm like, of course that happened, because it was made to happen. Whether or not I knew about it, that's different. Now, you can expect something hard every few days. If life is going good for you, expect to be tested. This is the idea of resistance. So if you have never had any resistance in your life, which I highly doubt you haven't, if you haven't had resistance in your life, then you haven't been tempted or tested. Now, resistance shows up the most when you really want something. So let's say you really want this outcome. You really want the body. You really want the job. You really want whatever. You're going to get tested, and that test is going to be resistance. You're going to be tested by people around you. You're going to be tested by your own mentality. You're going to be tested in temptations, in everything. Because what it's asking of you is for you to adapt and change. Now, we were made to walk uphill. We were made to adapt. We were made to be flexible in our day-to-day, in our actions. And if you stay the same as you did 24 hours ago, last week, last month, last year, maybe 5 years ago, you are no better. You haven't grown. You've stayed fixed. And if you're not growing, you are dying. And if you haven't read that, I'm going to remind you of it, because I need you to understand that the value of growth is so damn high. And so many people stay so fucking stuck because they're scared to grow. You should be more scared to not grow than you are to grow. And when life comes and tests you, and it kind of really, really puts you, like, knocks you to your knees, you better start believing in something better than yourself. Because when you're down, that's where it matters the most. When you are struggling, that's where it matters the most. When you feel like you're at the end and, the defeat has really set in, that's where it matters the most. It's not when things are going good. You are who you are when everything falls. And I say that confidently because I was absolutely nothing when I fell all the way down. But I knew that in that moment, I wanted to change it. I wanted to grow. So when everything was gone, when I lost it all, when I was losing myself and I felt like that's it, there was something inside me that goes, I don't want this anymore. I want growth. I want change. I want success. I want more. That's who I was. I had nothing. Like, you don't understand. I had nothing but the choice to change. And that choice to change was everything to me. And the one thing I can tell you, that the most powerful person in this world is the person that has nothing but the choice to change, because then they're willing to do whatever it takes. So that's why when you feel scared, when you're feeling doubt, when you are uncertain, just tell yourself to shut the fuck up and get up and keep going. Just tell yourself to do it anyway. Regardless of how you feel, regardless of what other people are telling you, just do it anyway. Because I can tell you right now that everything that you want is on the other side of fear. I say that at the end of every episode because it is 100% true. Your fear will lie to you. Your fear will tell you otherwise. Your fear will stop you in your tracks, and it will derail you, and it will hurt you, and you'll be knocked to your knees over and over the more that you listen to it. So please take that on board and apply something today. As you're listening to this, do something with it. Make a move. Take action, because you're one decision away from a completely different life.